Welcome back to the Raleigh Oaks here in OTP 25. We are here at about halfway through. We are at the All-Star break in July of 2041, and the Raleigh Oaks are sitting 2 games behind the Atlanta Braves for that first place spot in the Southern Division. The Royals are 4.5 behind us, so it's definitely a tight race here at the top of the division. If we take a look at the standings, the wild card, we have the top wild card spot right now. We are the best wild card team, and then the other top two wildcard teams, or I guess the second and third wildcard teams behind us, are the Royals and the Rays, who are also behind us in the division standings. And then you have the Cubs, Brewers, Blue Jays here, all in a really tight mix for that last fourth wildcard spot. So obviously, we are going to be trying to beef up this team a bit. Once again, I don't think we are going to be taking any huge swings here at the deadline, because we don't want to empty our farm or anything like that. We're still trying to keep this young core together. But if we can try to pick up a couple rental pieces that aren't too big of an upgrades, but like guys who are definitely upgrades and can help us, maybe not even upgrades, but guys who that can just help strengthen the depth or just help strengthen the team overall, we will definitely be looking to do that. First, we should definitely get into some of the injuries that have happened, because we've made some changes to the roster here. You'll see that Jeremy Osborne, he's had multiple IL stints that were all short. He, just in 2041 here, you can see he sprained his elbow, he had shoulder inflammation, then he had forearm stiffness. He is currently on rehab assignment in AAA. He'll be back at some point, but I mean, it's not like he's pitching well in the rehab, and he's not like he was pitching well in the big leagues either. So Jeremy Osborne, don't really know what his deal is, but he just was not cutting it this season. And then we also had Daniel Cardoza go down with a long-term injury. He is out for 5 months. Very unfortunate that happened here just like a week ago, essentially. Tore his meniscus. He's out for 5 months. He was not pitching well either, and I was trying to possibly get rid of him because we had some guys we wanted to call up and give shots, so he just got hurt anyways. So he helped us out there by getting hurt. He highly doubt he's back next year at $3.6 million for a guy who's 29 and just has not really proven ever that he's a major league pitcher. We probably try to trade him in the offseason, but for now, he is on the IL for the rest of the season. Also, Nesty Rojas currently has a strained back, which had just minimal to his hitting and throwing, and then moderate for running. So I was just like, hey, just have a short short IL stint. He'll come back like right when he's ready. We're not going to rehab him or anything. He'll just come right back. He also was not really doing much in the big leagues for us, but you know, he is Nesty Rojas. He's coming off a 6 WAR. Of course, we extend him after having 2 good seasons, like a half season and then a really good season with us last year. We extend him to be one of our more highly paid players, and he's just like, how about I put up a 90 WRC plus, and I'm not actually good. Classic stuff. But we have had some changes to the pitching staff right now. I'm not going to go over the entire team and how it's doing, because we will obviously do that once the season is over, but just some necessary little check-ins here. You'll see the rotation is looking a bit different. Obviously, Jake Graham is still there. Morales is still there. Hofer is still there. But then we have 2 followers now, with Amari Collar still in his follower role. And now we have Bobby Harlow, who was the guy who did the Vishnan Hit Me Hard Indian guy thing in the offseason. He is now here in the rotation as a follower, because he was down in AAA, just pumping out really good numbers in the rotation. So I was like, let's give this guy a shot. We need somebody who can give us bulk. He comes up, and you can see here he's had 8 appearances, and he's been solid. You know, nothing too crazy, but he's getting outs. That's what all we can ask for at this point. We're getting outs. So he's in the rotation for the moment. And then we have guys like Jeremy Herbert. It's Herbert. It's definitely Herbert. Jeremy Herbert, right-handed pitcher, who was a 14th round pick in 2039, so the year before we came here, out of UMBC. And if you take a look at his numbers here, just this season, he was really good in AA. We called him up to AAA, and he was just untouchable in AAA in 10 appearances, 11 and a third innings pitched. So we're just like, hey, we need a guy up in the big leagues. We're going to call him up here. So Jeremy Herbert is up in the big leagues, and he's had 1 and a third innings, and he's been untouchable. So hopefully that continues for the rest of the season. He has great personality class as well. We're very excited about this guy in the bullpen. And then we also called up Sincamani, Mike Sincamani, something like that. Cinquemani? I'm pretty sure it's Sincamani. Sincamani right-handed pitcher who we picked up in the offseason. He actually has improved a bit. You can see here his potential's gone up to 50. We traded for him in December, so you can see all these have gone up since then. And now he's suddenly a 50 potential starting pitcher, currently in the bullpen for us, giving us bulk in that bullpen. He's had one appearance. It did not go well with the ERA, got unlucky, but the FIP was fine. I'm sure he's going to be fine here in the big leagues. He's in just like a low leverage bulk sort of role. He was really good in AAA, as you can see. So we're giving him a shot here in the big leagues here as a 23-year-old, adding to our young staff here. And then I believe that Juan Trujillo's been up. It's been a while since I've recorded this, to be honest. I'm just going to put that straight out there, so I don't remember exactly everything I was doing the last time I was on here. But I did look through the major transactions to get a little bit of a refresher. So Juan Trujillo, I don't remember if I talked about him being up in the big leagues in the last episode, but he is up in the big leagues. He has not really been great, but he is also in a very, very low leverage role. So hopefully he can just, you can see here, long relief, avoid high leverage. He's just like an emergency starting pitcher. We actually have Sinkanami as a middle relief opener, I forgot, because we wanted a lefty-righty double barrel opener option for us. Because we have two followers, so we need more than one opener just to have options there. So those guys are the openers / middle relief, and then Betancourt or Betancourt. I always forget there's not a T. It's Betancourt and Hebert. Both of them throw me off. I want to say Herbert, and then I want to say Betancourt. Both of these names just made in a lab to make me say them incorrectly. And then because our bullpen really hasn't been lights out this season, and we don't really feel like we have a guy who can really go into a stopper role, we've kind of gone away from we have gone away from the follower role. We do have this double barrel stopper instead, Juan Nazario being 7th or later with the secondary closer, and then Mendoza being 6th or later with secondary high leverage. I just think that Nazario, I would not mind pitching in a stopper role, but he has 25 stamina, so we can't really do that. Mendoza has the stamina for it, but he really hasn't been pitching that well. Like, he's been getting really unlucky. He's still pitching the FIP the same last year, literally the same exact FIP that he had the season before. Basically same strikeout rate. A little bit lower K- walk percentage because he's walking a bit more guys this year, but his home run rate's down a tick. His BABIP is up a little bit, probably getting a bit unlucky there. So we're just going with single inning guys here, and then we get bulk through some of our other guys. Well, these guys kind of just shut down the end of the games here, with Montiel being lights out. He's the one guy who's really just been fantastic in the back end of our bullpen here. And if we just take a look at our numbers, we currently have the 4th highest runs scored in the National League, and then we have the 3rd lowest runs allowed. So very good in both categories. The best defense by zone rating, 2nd best by efficiency. So overall, the team has been very, very good pitching. The bullpen ERA has actually been our worst. I don't know why it went down like that. Bullpen ERA has been our worst number, and also tie with base on balls. But I feel like we tend to walk a lot of guys because just me as somebody who evaluates talent, especially when it comes to bullpen guys, if I see somebody with a 40 control, that doesn't really deter me as much as it would some other people. For me, I just think of it as, hey, you've got nasty stuff, we want you in the pen. So I feel like our based on balls numbers are usually a bit inflated compared to most teams, simply because I personally don't value, I don't disvalue control maybe as much as I should in the bullpen, but I mean, it usually works for us. So I feel like that probably ties into why we usually have a decently high base on balls. But I mean, 8th is not anything too crazy anyways, but it's definitely an outlier with the rest of these numbers, which are mostly like 1s, 2s, 3s, and then like a 4 here. So yeah, bullpen, maybe we could pick up a few bullpen pieces. That's definitely something I would look into here at the deadline. Maybe get an actual starter to add to the mix as well, even though our starters have been really good with this follower mix. And then when it comes to offense, we could really use some pop, because we don't really have much pop. We're scoring runs, obviously, 4th in the National League, but it's not really obvious where it's coming from. I guess it's just a lot of, like, I mean, we're not even hitting a lot of doubles. We're 7th in extra base hits. We have a lot of hits in general. So I guess what's happening is we're getting a lot of hits, and then we're manufacturing runs with stolen bases, which, I mean, I guess gets it done. But I would like to add a little bit of pop. I mean, when I look at our lineup, it's not like I'm like, oh, we're lacking power hitters. Like, Ramirez should be a power hitter. He started to turn things on the rest of this season. He has 70 power. Griego has 65 power. We have Ortega, who does not have power, also is struggling this year. Clicked on the wrong guy. Olehar, 55 power, nothing to slouch at. Medina, he has power. Duhan, okay, 50 power. I don't know what's going on with him. He's gone down to a 50? What is happening to our players? Jesus. Well, he's still hovering around a triple-digit WRC plus, but I mean, that's not great. So Duhan's kind of struggling, or not struggling, but he's going down. Who else? We have Tapia on the roster who has pop. If he's on the Major League roster, if he's on the playoff roster or not, who knows, but he definitely has pop and the base running, and he has good defense. So that tends to probably, he's going to end up being our backup infielder, because Mike Rubin, ideally he's our starting shortstop. He's just struggling this year. I do think that it's just kind of a down year, and I don't think that this is going to, he's going to be a 59 WRC plus hitter. I don't think he's Guadarrama, because this bat should be able to hang. He's not going to be the middle of the order guy, but he should be able to hang enough to be a shortstop. Plus, he's not even really playing that great of a shortstop for us. So, I mean, you could say, oh, we should be looking to pick up a shortstop. But I mean, how many teams just have their, better than this shortstop on the trade block and aren't going to cost, our entire farm system? So, even looking at this roster, it's just once Rojas is back, obviously we trust Rojas. We're not going to trade for somebody to push Rojas out of the lineup. Even when he comes back, we'll have to move somebody like Cooperman or Medina to the bench, and that would mean that somebody like Henniger, who we recently called up from the minor leagues because he was putting up decent numbers through 3 levels. He has some good ratings. He was Rule 5 eligible in the offseason, so I was like, hey, we needed an extra outfielder. Let's get this guy up as a switch hitter. Former 13th round pick of theirs out of Virginia Tech. Go Hokies. Except when they're playing Rutgers. Robert Longerbeam with the game-sealing pick. You know what it's about. I don't know why I'm talking about that game like it just happened. I'm recording this a couple days after we just lost to Nebraska in that gut punch of a game. So yeah, I really don't know if we want to pick up a bat. I think our bats are fine. We're having guys with down seasons, and that's why our number 1 offense from last year is struggling. Maybe I could pick up somebody. If somebody is if there's somebody out there who I think we could use, maybe, I don't know, maybe we move Duhan to the bench, and he's more of a guy who gets, at bats here and there at DH and first base, and we have, a guy who can, share time at DH with him. That's something that I would not be interested. I would be interested in doing. So if there's somebody like that who I think could legit help us, who's not going to cost an arm and a leg, I would possibly look into that. So big power bat who could help us, and some arms who could give us some bulk. Maybe not even starters. Maybe they're better bullpen guys, because I'm not opposed to just running 2 followers and then 1 follower in the postseason. I think that would be fine. So yeah, I think we could definitely do that. We'll see who's available. So the Angels have Kurt House here. 2 years left in his deal. I guess he has next year left in his deal. He's still here at $45 million at 32 years old. He's been phenomenal. Maybe not. He's really good. He's been phenomenal. He's been incredible here for this Los Angeles Angels team, and I'd imagine they're in the hunt. Yeah, they're in the second wildcard spot. I don't know why they have him on the block, because the AI is just stupid in this game and does things like that. But obviously we're not going to go trading for Kurt House, and we're not going to be able to because they're going to want everybody on my team. Tyler Pitzer is somebody who would be interesting if they're not in a playoff race, which they are. They're right behind the Angels. So Tyler Pitzer is not somebody we're trying to pick up either, even though he would be interesting as an expiring free agent. Somebody who's having a good season, could give us obviously an actual starter in the rotation. I don't think we're going to be able to get Ben Rice for obvious reasons. He's also currently hurt, fragile, not having a good season. I'd imagine this is, multiple injuries, sprained ankle, elbow inflammation, herniated disc. He's just the guy who would be hurt for the playoffs. We would definitely trade for this guy, and he would be hurt immediately. Campos from Seattle here is another guy who's wrecked. Not really interested in trading for that, even though he has been really good, but he's wrecked. So, not really something I'm interested in doing. Then there's also Jaden Cameron from Toronto, who's an expiring free agent and is okay. Is Toronto any good? Oh, they're over here. Toronto Toronto's in the mix. They're in the mix. They're trying to hunt on a playoff spot, so I'm not trying to trade for Jaden Cameron. Elmer Corkum, great name from Canada. He is an expiring free agent. He's interesting. He's also having a bad season, which is not interesting. That's definitely something that would deter me from trading for him, but I think if we put him behind our defense, he could definitely have a tick up here, and he could be somebody who could give us some innings down the stretch. Are the D-backs in the hunt? Okay, I would say they're in the mix, but I don't think it's crazy for them to trade with two teams in front of them, and they're 5-5 in their last 10. They're under 500. I don't think it would be crazy to pick up Elmer Corkum here. Big dumper. Love that his name is Big Dumper at 5'11", 200. And then the only other 50 guy here is Dan Heacock, not Peacock, Dan Heacock, right-hander, but he's got another year in his deal at a price increase. 1,000% not picking up this guy, even though he's been better. Plus, Cleveland is currently in first place, so we are not going to be doing that either. So yeah, it's really Elmer Corkum is the only starter among these 50 and plus guys who we would be interested in trading for. Yuri Perez is on the block too, I'm just realizing, as a fragile starter who has been terrible for Minnesota this season. I guess he was on a minor league free agent deal and did not pitch in the minor leagues. Oh, he probably just came back from his UCL. Yeah, just recently came back, and he's been terrible in 5 starts. He's cooked. And then there are some relievers here that we'll dig into and see if we could pick up like maybe 1 or 2 of them to add to the mix here as well. When it comes to batters, there's quite a bit of 50 guys here. So I'd probably be something like, just look at the batting stats real quick and like OPS plus. This guy's a 75. I mean, yeah, he would help us, but he's going to cost the entire system. Plus, are the Cubs in it? The Cubs are in it. They're in that 4th wildcard spot. I'm not trading for the Cubs' best player. And then you got this guy who's hitting well, but he was the Angels' first baseman last year. He's wrecked. I'm not trading for a wrecked guy. It's just not happening. Jorge Otero, he's wrecked. Sean Rack, I guess, is interesting. One thing I should look at. Okay, so we have... I think if we're going to acquire somebody, it should be a left-handed hitter. Because a left-handed power bat. Because we have some switch hitters. We have Ramirez as a switch hitter, Medina as a switch hitter, and then it's all righties except for Cooperman, who is a lefty and not a power bat. He is a good bat. He's been hitting well for us. He is a very, very valuable player, but he is not like a legit bopper sort of guy. So, and then obviously we have Risher on the bench. Same sort of deal with him. He is not a bopper. He is the complete opposite. He is a high defense slap hitter. And then Henniger has a little bit of pop to his game, but he's a rookie, hasn't really proven himself at all, hasn't even gotten a single at bat in the big leagues yet. Don't really think we're trying to bank on him. And then everyone else is a right-handed bat. Rojas is a lefty, isn't he? Rojas is a lefty, but he's not a big power guy. So I think if we're trying to pick up a bat here, it should be a big like lefty to add to the lineup. So if we just go left-handed bats here with one of my filters. And we got 3 guys here who have a decent chunk of times. One of them is Walker Jenkins, who's old as dirt at this point and is washed. And he's wrecked. He's not washed. He's washed. He's having a weird year. He's wrecked. We're not trying to trade for him. And then it becomes down to Jesus Ramon, who is fragile, has some pop, having a decent season. And then it's Luis Turidi from the Brewers, who's a switch hitter, and is better against lefties, so he's definitely better from the right-handed side. Not really what we're looking for there. And the Brewers are currently in the mix, and then the Reds are out of it. So I would definitely be more intrigued with the Reds guy. Can we go back to the block here? Yeah, Jesus Ramon. This is somebody I would not be opposed to picking up. But, like, is he really that big of an upgrade? What about just going default here and looking at left-handed bats who maybe aren't having good seasons, but maybe we can just bet on their talent being better? Like Daniel Amaya, former Angel farmhand, who is not having a good season. He's having an okay-ish. He's like a decent bench player. But like I said, we're trying to pick up a guy who can be a legit power bat for us. So, like, if we go ratings, power, it's this guy who's out for 8 months, not an option, plus is all swing and miss. Nate Santorn, I mean, huge swing. This is the guy who we were comparing Chris Lesnar to all these years with the Reds, who was their big bopper for all these years. And now he's old, doesn't actually hit as much anymore. I don't really think we're trying to pick this guy up. Like his strikeout and walk numbers have remained like pretty much the same. Like they've jumped a bit in his 30s, but his walk numbers has pretty much remained like pretty around the same, what you would expect. But he just does not perform enough for me to want him on the team. I don't really think that's somebody we should pick up. He's still really good in right field. I mean, I don't know. Maybe we should. Maybe we should try to acquire Santorn here. The guy he's got all this hardware. He's won a championship over us, mind you, in 2032 when we were at the Angels. Two-time All-Star. Now, obviously, he's not in his prime anymore. He's struggling this year. But he still gives you some home runs. But he does have the swing and miss. The swing and miss is a problem. This is somebody who I would be interested in, like, buying low on. Just because this profile, I've always loved this profile. Everyone knows that I love this profile. The 60 gap power eye. He's going to swing and miss. He has 50 BABIP. He has a decent speed profile. He's a captain. He can play a really good outfield, so he's not just a DH type. He hasn't ever done anything. Or no, he's had some years. In Boston, he was pretty good for 2 years. And then he went to Detroit, wasn't good. Ended up in San Diego, was dreadful, just completely unplayable. And now he's in Colorado. And it's like, maybe I should be looking at this and going, oh, these are his numbers in Colorado? Maybe I shouldn't trade for this guy. But my mind just sees these ratings and I'm like, oh, this guy is valuable. But maybe he's not. He's also putting up this type of ZR in center field with this type of bat. I'm going to add him to my keep an eye because I think this guy's valuable. Maybe not as like a trade for at the deadline sort of guy, but definitely somebody I'm interested in having in the system. And then anybody else with like 60 plus power is like Derek Guyton, who is a catcher with a vesting option, 120 games. I guess he's been performing poorly for them. He's not really cutting it this year. But the thing is, he's not really a catcher anymore. He can't really, his catching is down to 50. I guess he has a positive framing runs. I don't know. The fact that his catcher rating is 50 scares me, even though he has 60 framing. So really what I'm seeing is that it's either Jesus Ramon, who I really don't think is that big of an upgrade, if any upgrade at all. Like, I think we have guys who give us this type of production. Or it's picking up Santorn and hoping he can, like, channel into some of his... Like, he could just get hot in the playoffs or something with this power bat. I would not be opposed to doing that as, like, an expiring free agent sort of guy. Or, like, a buy really low guy in Glenn Radzewski here. Lefty, out of the disgusting IMG Academy, who we would really be banking on. I mean, the strikeout numbers are really bad. Did I even see that the first time? Yeah, these strikeout... No. That's even worse than Santorn. No, we can't do that. We can't do that. No, absolutely not. I mean, Santorn has the 45 strikeout percentage too, but man, it's tight. There's not a lot of guys out there. There just isn't. I don't think Guyton is like that dude anymore. I don't want him to play every day at catcher. I also don't think his bat is good enough to be like a DH taking away ABs from Duhan. I should also mention that we still have Devon Leas because we cannot trade him in the offseason, obviously. He expects to be playing the major leagues. He has the 60 power with the 60 gap and good avoid Ks. So we could opt to not actually pick up a bat, which I think I'm going to do with the guys that are available. I just think we're not going to trade for a bat, and I think we're going to hope that a guy like Leas, with maybe some more run in the big leagues, can give us better production than this. In his very limited time in the big leagues, he's not done anything as like a very like play once a week sort of guy. If he gets more ABs more often, maybe he's a bit better. I'm thinking we could possibly lean into something like that. Because right now we have Henninger as like this backup outfielder guy who doesn't really serve a role. So I think we're going to send Henninger down to AAA. And then we are going to take Devon Leas and send him up to the big leagues, and he is going to be like our... We might even do something like this, where he's the starter, also the backup first baseman, and then give him, like, I don't know, Duhan like every third game, and do something like that, and see if Lias can give us some left-handed pop here down the stretch, because he has the pop, he has the ratings that he should be good. So I think we're going to roll with that instead. And then we're going to try to make a run on Elmer Corkum here as like another starting pitcher who we are banking on is going to have a better performance with us with a good defense. First of all, I want to look at what the Arizona defense looks like. Horrible. Horrible. They got a negative ZR. Absolutely. Absolutely, we are going to take this guy. Absolutely. We are going to trade for Elmer Corkum here. He was an all-star at one point. He was an all-star last year with Pittsburgh. Interesting. So yeah, we're going to try to pick up him. All right, so we've gone ahead and made the 2 trades that I think that's all we're going to do here at this deadline. We're not even at the deadline yet. We're still at the all-star break, but we've gone ahead and made the trades early just to get them out of the way, make them more effective, get more of these guys. So first one we did was Elmer Corkum. We picked him up from Arizona. He is now a part of our rotation. We're hoping that he can up this with some better defense behind him because we saw that the Arizona Diamondbacks have poor defense. So hopefully he's able to come in, and Elmer Big Dumper here is able to be a solid starting pitcher for us down the stretch as an expiring contract. And then we did a bit of a blockbuster, but not really. 2 really solid relievers on a really poor Detroit Tigers team. You can see here they're 42 and 57. I don't really think an AJ Hinch run is in the cards for them this season. So unfortunately, they're going to be selling here, and we picked up 2 of their best relievers who they have on the trade block in Andres Zamora. The Bat Destroyer is finally making an appearance on a Robert Pollard ran team. This guy has been an absolute menace here. He is a part of the lore of this series. This guy, just a little bit of a refresher here, started off in St. Louis as an absolutely stud starting pitcher, putting up 8 WARs. These 4 seasons, all-time run, these 4 seasons, and then he gets hurt in 2034, comes back, or no, he gets hurt in 2033. You can see he did not play in 2033, missed the whole year. He got hurt in spring training, like tore his rotator cuff or something like that, or tore his UCL, and his stamina dropped down to like 30. So he spent the rest of his career, except for these, for whatever is in Detroit, having the rotation in 2040. The majority of his career post-injury has been as a reliever, and he's been a damn good reliever, but I don't think I can actually see it here. So yeah, this is a different contract he signed, but if we go to his history page, we can see he was a number 1 overall pick by the Cardinals in 2028. He was one of the best prospects in baseball. You can see here he's won 4 Cy Youngs in those 4 dominant years that he had. All these All-Stars as even relievers. He's a multiple time world champion, 2-time world champion in 2037 and 2038. Those were both with the Astros, I believe. Yes. One of those was over the Angels, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, all-time bad year in 2033. Wins the MVP. He finished 3rd in MVP. Wins the Cy Young in 2032. Then they tried to improve one of his poor pitches in St. Louis. Detrimentally completed that to make one of his poorer pitches usable. Also, then tore a flexor tendon in his elbow a couple days later. That was the injury that fucked his career. He also had acute elbow soreness in 2034. But then he's just been a really good reliever ever since then. And where was the contract that he signed? Here it is. He had signed a 7-year, $312 million, $700,000 deal with the St. Louis Cardinals. At the time, that was like 45. I want to say he maybe had like some 50s in there in that contract, and that was when they thought he was going to be the starter for long term. But instead, he was just being a lights out reliever on a deal that was definitely a starter deal. Yeah, here we can see right here. We can see right here. What am I talking about? So he signs the deal, and he had multiple $50 million years that like really screwed the Cardinals. They were not competitive for a lot of these post-injury years. Then he goes to Houston on the back end of that deal. And then he's back in St. Louis, and then he goes to Detroit, and now he is here in Raleigh, along with their closer, Sincere Mikel, the Wolf. Great nickname between both of these guys. The Bat Destroyer and the Wolf. That's incredible. Right-handed pitcher, or no, he's a left-handed pitcher here. Also an expiring deal. Went to a JUCO that sounds like a Greek city. That is absolutely a Greek thing. Maybe I'm just Football Manager pilled at the moment, and I'm just seeing everything as Greek because I'm playing a Greek save, but that looks Greek to me. Anyways, you can see here, he's a guy who has had back-to-back poor seasons, but expiring deal. He's got good ratings. I think if we get him in our system with these strategy settings behind a good defense, I think he could be a really good pitcher for us. And him and Zamora are going to be in the setup role with Montiel as our closer. Relievers in general, I've talked about this before. I am generally not usually looking at these ratings too much for them because it's so volatile as a reliever that it's just like, they could have like a 2-month stretch that just like they could have like 3 good outings or 3 bad outings and it ruins their whole season. So, you get him on a team like you trade for him at the deadline and all of a sudden he has 2 good months and he's looking like he's a stud. So just the way how it goes with relievers. But the rest of the season here with our rotation, it's going to be Graham, Morales, Corkum, Hofer, and then Collar as a reliever or as a follower. We sent down Bobby Harlow, was it? I already forget his name. Bobby Harlow. He could be back up, but for now he's in AAA. And then this is our 1 through 5. And then we're rocking Montiel, Mikel, the Wolf, the Bat Destroyer here as the double barrel setups. That moves Nazario and Mendoza into middle relief roles, where Nazario and Betancourt are both to use more often high leverage. Mendoza and Hebert are the middle relief / long relief because Mendoza has that stamina. Hebert also has that stamina and is just a lesser role than these 2 guys. And then Juan Jaimes is a void high leverage, but he does have the opener, which should mean that the AI will probably not use him much as a regular reliever, which I don't want them to, and it mainly will just use him as an opener, because if we look at his numbers here in the big leagues, he has been... That's the wrong thing. We went to his numbers. He's been solid as a opener, but he's been dreadful as a regular reliever. So we would like him to just be an opener paired with Amari Collar. We get him in as a lefty, and then we bring in Amari Collar as a righty for that bulk behind him, and that is our 5th starter here. So if this holds, we actually won't have to run a follower in the postseason this season. If we make it, obviously. Anything can happen. But that is the plan. We're going to see how it goes, and we will check in at the end of the season. Wrong-o. We're actually checking in a day later because I've never actually had this before. Luis Gallego just won the All-Star MVP, the Midseason Classic MVP here for the National League. Luis Gallego, fantastic stuff. I've never actually had somebody win All-Star Game MVP before. It popped up with the achievement and everything. So, Luis Gallego, congratulations to him. Now let's go tear up this second half. I just wanted to check in very quickly. Things are going very well, as you can see. We're 84-51. Still playing very good baseball here. Coming off a 10-3 win in extras. 10-3 in extras? Holy shit, a 7-run top of the 10th. And we beat the Texas Rangers, who are a shit baseball team. Jake Graham goes 6 innings, gives up 3 runs. He has been kind of mad this season, but gets the job done there over the shitty Texas Rangers team. That's not why I unpaused the sim here. Or not unpaused, but checked in with the sim here. We were actually thinking about trading for Toru Kaneda at the deadline. Because you can see here, still has good ratings. He was pitching very well in Seattle. He's been a very good reliever his entire career. Even late into his career here, been a very good reliever. We opted to go with Zamora and McKeel instead. The Braves traded for him at the deadline. Was very good in 17 innings. I mean, unhittable, basically, in 17 innings. And he tears his rotator cuff, career over. Tough luck for the team we're about to play here. No longer with a stud at the back end of their bullpen. And aren't they one of the teams we're trying to... They're the team we're trying to chase down here. So, shit luck for the Braves. Sucks to suck. I mean, what the fuck do I know? We just go into that series and we play an absolute egg. 1-0 loss, 2-0 loss, then we're just demoralized and we get throttled 8-1. and now we're suddenly 7 games behind the Braves. I mean, figure it out, guys. We're going into September here. We're 3-7 in our last 10. We're still sitting pretty in that top wildcard spot, but I mean, like, get on the gear here. What are we doing? And that is terrible, terrible news. Folks, how often are you going to see a 98-win season end in a wild card berth? That is exactly what has happened here with our Raleigh Oaks. We had a good season, 98-64. You can't complain about that. Second place in the Southern Division because the Atlanta Braves were just an absolute wagon this year, as they have been in multiple years in this series. This is their first 100-win season since 2028, but they've had multiple high 90-win seasons, multiple playoff runs. They made the playoffs this 2018 and then stretches into the first year of the save in 2024, and then they all the way up to 2030. Missed 2 years, made it, missed a year, 2 years in a row, missed it, and then 3 years in a row, and this will be their 4th year in a row in the playoffs. The Atlanta Braves, they're a wagon here, folks, and they win 104 games. They were just too good to catch up to. We tried. 98 wins. Nothing to shake your head at there. Very solid season. Take a look at the expanded standings. We had a 139 run differential, which was not as good as it was last year. We did finish the year 7-3, so finish on a strong start there. That's good to see. Really good in one-run games as well, so definitely got a bit lucky there. We outplayed our Pythagorean a bit, only by 3 games, but still a decent amount. We weren't quite the Rays, outperforming it by 8 games, but still a very solid team as we get that top wildcard spot with 98 wins, and then the Rays, Guardians, and Brewers get the other wildcard spots, while the Cubs and the Braves are the division winners of the National League. With the American League side of things, it's the Mets, the Dodgers, and we have, wait a minute. We're going to have a 1-game playoff in the American League. The Montreal Expos, hold the fort. This is quite a mess here at the top of the wild card. So either the Mets, the Expos, or the Yankees are going to win the American League Metro Division, and then the rest of them, these 2 teams clinched wildcard, and then the Orioles too. Okay, never mind. One of these teams is going to win the division, and then 2 of these teams are going to be the top 2 wildcard spots, and that'll fill out the 4 wildcard. It was messing with the Mets were listed here and here. So yeah, I don't know who's going to win, but these 3 teams are in the playoffs along with the Angels and the Orioles. I mean, we had the third best record in Major League Baseball, and we're a wild card team because the Mets and Cubs were both. I thought the Cubs were bad. They had 96 wins, but better than the American League Metro winner, that's for sure. But I mean, even if we were the Angels putting up these numbers, we would still be behind the Dodgers because they won 109 games. But taking a look at the Raleigh Oaks team this year, as I said, we did finish pretty strong. I mean, overall, very solid season. 19-9 into 15-14, 16-11, 18-8, 16-12, and then 14-10 to end the season in September. We had the 6th most runs scored, so not quite the 4 or whatever it was when we did check in last time. The offense definitely has struggled here. I've noticed we've had injuries. We saw the Nesty Rojas injury. The guys have underperformed, but I'm still confident that we are a good baseball team, as evidenced by 98 wins. And who knows what can happen in the playoffs. I mean, you get in and anything can happen. Pitching-wise, still very, very good. 3rd in overall ERA, 3rd in starters, 2nd in a bullpen. This was 8, now it's 2nd. So I'm thinking those bullpen acquisitions we made at the deadline definitely help us out here. Lots of top 3 stuff you're seeing here. 1st in BABIP, 3rd in home runs allowed. Our walks is down to 8th, strikeouts is tied for 3rd, and then we had the best defensive efficiency and the best zone rating, a 49.5 zone rating. Insane for the Raleigh Oaks here. Let's take a look at this pitching staff. We'll sort by innings pitched here. And we've got Jake Graham, who led our team with 207 innings pitched and a 4 WAR. Not his best season, but still puts up a 4 WAR simply for the fact that he's pitching 200 innings. So we'll take that. We'll unlock that. We'll get ourselves a workhorse at the top of the staff there. Wilson Morales puts up a 4 WAR as well. Fantastic to see from him. Did his walk rate? His walk rate's around the same it has been, so I guess this is just what he is for us. For whatever reason, he walks more guys now than he did previously. It's not like we have him on pitching around, so I'm not really sure why his walk rate would be going up like that, but it is. But still, he's a very good pitcher. Elmer Corkum came over from the D-backs and was much better with us than he was with the D-backs. Wasn't anything too crazy, but solid enough. Josh Hofer had a solid year in the rotation. Wasn't anything too crazy either, but still decent in the rotation. Santiago Mendoza was very good in the bullpen, put up a 2 WAR in that role. Sincere Mikel came over, and he was way better for us than he was for Detroit and Texas the past 2 seasons, as you can see, or Texas last season and the Detroit for half of this year. I mean, he comes over here and he's like, man, these guys play defense behind you. I'm just going to be unhittable as well. So the Wolf here, incredible pitcher for us. And then Zamora also came over and he was solid with Detroit. He was solid with us. Zamora, big part of our bullpen down the stretch. And then Bethancourt. He was pretty decent, but overall, just like a meh year. Probably still going to be part of the postseason bullpen, though. Bobby Harlow came back up and had that 5th starter spot for us because Amari Collar started really struggling, so we unfortunately had to DFA him. He's still in AAA, but obviously not on the 40-man roster. Bobby Harlow, though, he was solid. He had 12 appearances, all as a follower, and he was really good in that role. And we're playing in the wild card this year, so if it goes 5 games, Bobby Harlow's the man going for that 5th game. So hopefully it doesn't go 5 games, but if we do need it, he's going to be the guy going for that game. Wilson Montiel, he was solid as well. He was our closer. Now, is he going to continue to be our closer in the postseason? Probably, but I also probably am going to just have like a committee, sort of just a bunch of guys who are going to be like guys we trust in clutch. These 3 guys, Montiel, McKeel, and Zamora, and then Nazario I trust simply because he's just nasty. I mean, look at this guy. Mendoza we trust, obviously, and then the rest of the guys are like the other dudes. As you can see, Nazario had a good year. Juan Jaimez finished cold, and ended up actually not being as good of an opener as you would hope. Home run issues. So we're going to have to look to have a different opener, I'm thinking, here for the games that Bobby Harlow goes. Or maybe we just keep rolling with it. Who knows? Mike Sinkanami came up in September call-ups. He was pretty decent in very low leverage, but still, I mean, he was really good, honestly. He was really good, but very low leverage, 16 2/3 innings pitched in a long relief, avoid high leverage role. Hebert also came back up. He was pretty solid as well. Nothing to complain about there either. But Jaimez is definitely probably not going to be on the postseason roster. Now that I'm seeing this, I'd probably prefer either Sinkanami or Hebert on the postseason roster over him. And then we take a look at the lineups. Sort by WAR here. Luis Griego was the best player on our team this season, a 7.6 WAR with a 157 WRC plus, 39 doubles, 32 home runs, 110 ribbies, and 108 runs scored. 9 walk rate is whatever, but 11 strikeout percentage. You round up to 12. Incredible. Slash 325, 388, 600. 39 swipe bags as well, with a ZR of 5 that was combined between left and center field. For whatever reason, he got off to a poor start in center field. You would think a guy with a 75 left field rating with 70 range would be like a 15 ZR guy in left field, but he's not for whatever reason. So Griego, hopefully he can perform better there next season because Yakel Cooperman has really solidified himself as like a dude who can play center field for us. But Juan Ramirez, second best overall player, a 4 WAR as a first baseman, 127 WRC plus, 33 doubles, and 33 home runs, and 30 stolen bases. Love the 30-30 seasons there from him and Griego. 100 ribbies, 128 to be exact. Strikes out less than 30% of the time. Ramirez was fantastic. This was the year we were hoping to see from him last year, that he really stepped it up this year. The walk rate dipped, but and the strikeout rate went up, but the production definitely better. Olear, whatever this guy's name is, he also had a great season. 3 WAR, triple-digit WRC plus, 28 doubles, 25 home runs. We'll take it. Yakel Cooperman, like I said, not the greatest hitter, but a 2.7 WAR, where a year he was like off the bench, starting, on the bench, starting, on the bench, just constantly back and forth. Puts up a 12.8 ZR in center field at only 93 games and a 2.7 WAR. You know, I think his overall production offensively can be better than a 93 WRC plus. But even if he is around that, I would not be opposed to having him be our starting center fielder because he is that level of center fielder. Mike Rubin, same sort of deal with him where his bat, well, actually, I should say this is actually impressive because when we checked in last, this was in the 50s, I believe, and he finishes with a 99 WRC plus. So if we look at his splits here, definitely. June, he started turning it on, and then July, August, September, he was one of our better hitters. So Mike Rubin really tore it up in the second half for us, and played a pretty decent shortstop, a 6.4 ZR, nothing to slouch at there. And then Aiden McCarthy put up a 2 WAR, definitely struggled with the bat once again, especially down the stretch. Had a really good May, decent April, and then June, July, August was awful. September, he was really good, though, so hopefully that can go into the playoffs, because we don't want another playoff where we just have nothing coming from him offensively, although his ratings offensively definitely have taken a dip, but he is very good defensively, and you do not run on Aiden McCarthy. And then Edgar Ortega, I don't know what the fuck happened this season. I don't know why his contact went down so much in the offseason, but it did, and it hit him. Him and Nesty Rojas were our best hitters last season, and this year they both sucked. Nesty Rojas currently hurt, and he wasn't good when he was playing. Ortega had a couple injuries, also wasn't good when he was playing. I don't know what the deal is, but obviously he's signed long-term through 2049. Maybe we should have waited until we saw it more, but I mean, he did it in 2039, and then he did it even more in 2040. So I was like, this guy's definitely going to be good. And then we signed the extension, and he immediately is like, actually, I don't want to hit consistently anymore. So rough, but hopefully he's still productive. He still plays I guess maybe not actually, only a 2 ZR at second base. But you would expect to be more from that, which again, sort of like Riego. Why is he not putting up a better ZR at second base? Who knows? But Ortega, hopefully he can still be decent. It's also very worrying that where'd he go? That he's fragile. Very disappointing to see that. He's had a bunch of nagging injuries. It's not looking great. The outlook for him is not looking great. And then the rest of the team, just a lot of bench guys who contributed. Nothing really too crazy, though. Like Billy Noble was a solid bench catcher. I would not be opposed to having him play in the postseason if we do need that. He also has 80 arm, just like Aiden McCarthy. Very good defensive catchers for us here in Raleigh. Chris Duhan put up like 100 WRC plus. Tapia was whatever as a bench player. We ended up calling up Henniger again and him playing mainly right field once Rojas went down. We look at the major leagues here. He was decent in right field. If we look at the batting stats, we'll do this. Batting stats. Only September was poor, 93 innings, or 93 WRC plus in 79 plate appearances. Very small sample size. And if we look at his AAA numbers, he was very, very good. His ratings are decent. Is he going to be the starting right fielder in the postseason? Maybe, maybe not. We have some options like Medina, but Medina, as you can see here, was not a good hitter this year. 82 WRC plus, and he had a negative WAR because you would think this 65 right field would be able to play right field, but guess what? It can't. What's the deal? So Medina, definitely not somebody I'm like desperate to play there. Risher was bad down the stretch as well. So we have some issues in right field for us right now. And then Devon Leas also did not do what I hoped he did and perform it as a left-handed hitter. He just was awful. So not really sure what we're going to do with some bat situations. Duhan's probably just going to keep being the DH every day. But then right field, who knows? Is it going to be Medina? Is it going to be Henniger? Is it going to be Risher? Is it going to be something even more creative out of the box? Who knows? And then if we take a look here at the batting leaders around Major League Baseball, you can see the slugging percentage leader jumps out right for you. Luis Gallego, a 600 slugging, leads Major League Baseball. We also had Juan Ramirez, top 5 in runs batted in. This Scholes guy on the Cubs had 146 ribbies. That's insane. Probably their cleanup guy, if I had to guess. Also seeing that Griego just edged out Chris Aquino for that slugging percentage lead in Major League Baseball. So the American League leader was Aquino, and the National League leader was Luis Griego. He could not beat out Aquino for the OPS, though, as Griego gets third in OPS. Aquino gets the best OPS in Major League Baseball. Second best WAR in Major League Baseball. Are we going to have ourselves an MVP? That's the best WAR in the National League. Luis Griego is going to win MVP. Oh my God. All those Logan O'Hoppe and all those guys that we've had, all those Nolan Schanuel years, all these elite players we've had, and we've never had an MVP, I don't think. Not that I can remember. Luis Griego might be the first of the bunch at age 23. Crazy. This Knicks guy on the Cubs is insane. So they got this Scholes guy who's probably hitting cleanup for them and driving in these absurd run totals, back-to-back RBI leader in the National League and really in Major League Baseball. Very similar profile here to Juan Ramirez, but they just have guys in front of him to get on, I guess. And Wells Ortega's just struggling to get on, where they have this guy who won the batting title, Joe Nix. Very boring name, but one of these profiles I'm always talking about. The high contact, high gap power, high speed, and he just gets on, and then Scholes drives him in. I mean, it's a recipe that you love to see. I love these types of guys. Anybody who has watched any of these videos for any sort of amount of time should know that. The Cubs, after my own heart here. Also leads the league in doubles. I mean, this guy's incredible. Leads the league in runs. You also got this guy on the Cubs, the guy who they were trying to trade, Rocky Gusty, whatever his name is. He's another guy with a 6 WAR. I mean, the Cubs were really fucking good. I'd imagine maybe their pitching is not as good, but their offense, really good. And then down here for OPS plus, you got Griego top 4 with a 161. He has the best win probability added, and he has the third best WOBA at 403. Aquino in front of him in that leader spot. Where on the pitching side of things, you got some familiar names in here. You got Jesus Ramirez of Oakland leading Major League Baseball in ERA. Also in WAR, you've got Linares on the Astros here right behind him. This Carcamo guy is new. Torn meniscus in his first full season. But I mean, what's new? The Miami Marlins had themselves an absolute stud starting pitcher. And he's Latin. They love these dudes. And they've been really good in this save. So hopefully this guy is not like fucked now that he's torn his meniscus and he's fragile, but I mean maybe we should be hoping for that now that we're in their division. They also have the win leader here in Jimmy Courtwright, 25-year-old. I swear, every time you see that these guys have a good pitcher, this guy's not even good. I guess he just had a bunch of wins as maybe he was a follower. He had 176 innings and only 33. Yeah, this guy was a follower for them. Are the Marlins doing my thing? Are they copying me? Not that like I invented the opener. I'm not the Rays. And then we had 2 guys here in top 5 with most walks, which is just I don't understand why Morales' walk rate has gone up so much. He's still pitching the same amount of innings that he was before we got here, and we even have his pitch around way lower than normal. So I don't understand why he's all of a sudden like, yeah, my walk rate is 3% higher than it used to be. So weird, but I guess we'll take it. He's still a very good pitcher. Jake Graham, though, his walk rate also went up a bunch. Don't understand that. His maybe his is up like that, so we should drop that a little bit. I think this might have been 55 when we signed him. Don't really know why they're walking so many guys. And then look at this. Aiden McCarthy, a menace defensively. Not a big framer. He's only clicking on the wrong guy here. He only has 60 framing, which is definitely not a slouch. He's still got positive framing runs, but he's not like anything where he's going to stand up in these ratings. But top 3 in defensive efficiency as a catcher, top 4 in catcher's ERA, commanding that staff, and then number 1 by a large margin in caught stealing percentage. You do not run on Aiden McCarthy. And then just Juan Ramirez here playing first base more than anybody in baseball. That's essentially what putouts and total chances is going to be. leading the league in those categories here. Some of these guys are catchers. So like this guy's a catcher. And so he's out put-outing and out-chancing catchers. That's crazy. So that giant mess in the Metro has been settled. The New York Mets come out on top, winning the Metro division. The Dodgers have the other AL division winner spot. So the wild card over there is the Angels taking on the Yankees, the Orioles taking on the Expos, and then over here in the National League, you've got the Braves and the Cubs in their division winner spots, and then we are going to be taking on the Milwaukee Brewers, and the Cleveland Guardians are taking on the Tampa Bay Rays.